So the system is not nice and neat. As you can see, the cover crops, the original grasses, and a lot of the other plants that are in here have overwhelmed the raised beds. You can see where we've mowed a trail. Well, what's happened here is I haven't maintained it as well as I could. We've had a lot of rain and we've got a lot of biomass, but what you'll notice about this biomass, by the way, I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. What you'll notice about this biomass is that it's pollinators. So it's clover going to flower. You see the little bees running around. It's hairy vetch and it's grasses. Now, what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to come out here with a scythe. I'm not sure if it's going to rain or not. It's looking pretty dark out here. I'm going to go through and pick the vegetables. We're in August here. It's pretty hot. I'll pick the vegetables that I can find, and then I'll come back through and scythe like I did here. So this was a couple weeks ago. I scythed out the path. I took all of the grasses and mounded them on the beds. Now you can see that the grass didn't come back where it was mounded on the beds. The mound is insulating the soil. It's actually killing off what was underneath it, but it's providing a big, thick layer. These raised beds were only this season old, so less than a year old, and we can still see where the paths are, but essentially by scything it out, mounding the materials on top of the beds, we're creating a mulch bed. We're capturing biomass and putting it in the soil. We want to try to do that before it goes to seed. Now we do have some plants in here that are edible. We have corn over here. The corn's looking really nice. I'll walk through there and check it. But some corn didn't come up as high as it should. It's okay. We've got a couple little melons that volunteered, and you'll see that they're kind of small. Some wildflowers mixed in here. So even though it is overgrown, the wildflowers act as pollinators. We're getting there's actually bees on the property, or honeybees. So we're feeding those. The plants in here didn't do so well. And you might be saying, okay, and here's stuff that we didn't even get out and harvest. So here's stuff that grew that didn't get harvested. So again, everything's true to seed. So I'll take these out for seed. They're not too rotten. But again, this is a kind of a natural farming system. There's a huge seed bank in the ground here, so we are having some challenges, such as things overgrowing. And how are we going to solve that? Well, we're going to impound some chickens in here after this gets going, and impound them on the contour rows, and really just have them eat everything. I'll cut and scythe as much as I can, but I'll have the chickens eat. There's more corn over here. Have the chickens eat up out that seed bank. Now, we're saving seed separately, but these areas where nothing was planted, it can be scythed out for mulch. It can be chickens introduced. And you see in here, there's basil in here. Oh, sorry, bee. Whole big row of basil. I'll clean that up a little bit. On this other side here, there's a couple rows. See the flowers? Bulbs of flowers. You need to mulch that out. And then here's some potatoes that'll need to get dug up. I'm not going to dig them up right now because it's getting rainy. And I put some sweet potatoes down here. Now, are these sweet potatoes going to go crazy and go good? Probably not, because they got a lot of competition. So you can see there's a little bit of sweet potato, and there's a little bit of this other kind of ground cover. So we might get into a point where we basically mark the corners of a terrace and then impound chickens on the terrace. Now you can see some sun hemp here. We actually have a big stand of sun hemp over here. So just to grow some biomass. Now you can feed sun hemp to animals, but I took some space that was kind of not used, and I put a seed mix down, which included sun hemp and a variety of other things. But look at this. See, we're growing biomass. These are going to continue to grow a lot taller than me, and they'll have a yellow flower. And it will provide us just some fodder. You see the corn over here too. Now we're getting production out of the crops. We're getting food items out. We're getting biomass. And of course, if we introduce chickens or goats or hogs or something like that, we'll actually get feed for those animals. But we have to build the soil up, because otherwise this is just a big grass area. So we're getting the path straight, the access points. Got our terraces cut out last year. And then with the sun hemp, we're going to get this nice fibrous material. I got a bunch of potatoes. We're getting food out of it. It's just not as much as you would normally. Like this whole row is sweet potatoes all the way through here. And they're kind of overgrown. Actually, I need to check in here. They were gourds. So some different gourds. And there were also watermelons in here. So I'll walk through that and figure out what's going on. You know, it's not as abundant and as clean as some crops. This one might need to come out. But it is, again, growing the soil, getting our areas established, large volume of flowers and wildflowers, some nitrogen fixing trees over here that need to be trimmed up and pruned so we can get a little bit of overstory. Because if you keep cutting these out, they keep spreading. We've got a pile of compost in here somewhere. Oh, there you go. There's another set of squash that I can take out for seed. See, you're not catching all the squash as we go. That one's got it's got aphids on it. But again, it's a little bit of everything, and we are getting food out of it. We're getting quite a bit of food out of it. It's just, I probably need to have a flail mower come through here when the season's done, because we're missing food. It's, you know, it's so thick it's hard to find stuff. So a flail mower coming through here after the end of the season would chop all this stuff down into just kind of a shredding on top of the soil. That will help protect the soil. We get our next crop in. And then of course having chickens come through in a controlled way can get some of those seeds out of the soil, because we do have a large amount of seed bank of seeds that are not desirable. So for example, we might enclose 5 chickens in this outside area with a temporary fence up to where those wildflowers are planted. And then do the same thing on the other side, but keep them out of the wildflowers until we can take the seeds off the wildflowers, and then let the chickens go through there and get everything that's left, because there's so many grasses. So many grasses, broadleafs. And again, this is an organic space. We're not spraying anything. And we have little markers about where the different trails and paths are to get access to different areas. We're allowing some things to grow that you wouldn't normally let grow. Some of these plants here, some of them are edible but not as useful. See, there's tomatoes in here. Not going to get much from those tomatoes if they're overwhelmed. But there was a pile of compost around here somewhere. It might have got used up. But again, it looks wild. A lot of it is, but we built a framework in here. You see the marker flags. There's a framework in here for access. There's a lot of biomass being grown, and we're going to be feeding the soil. So I brought a scythe over today. My focus is going to be scything out some of these paths, some of these areas. Like this is a path, to scythe that around it and just layer the grasses on the surface to kill off anything using a mulch kill. Harvest any vegetables out that we can use and get it ready for the fall season. But I'll agree, it is quite a hefty mess. Quite a hefty mess. Let's see what I can do before it rains. A lot of tomatoes came out of here. They look like they're about done. Some Roma tomato right here. But again, we don't want all this. We want to cut this grass down before it gets to seed. And I'm starting to get rained on. Look at that. We'll leave you with this. I'm Justin Hipp from Prosperity Homestead. Thanks for watching. See what work I can get done before I get rained on.